This video will show you everything you need to master ChatGPT, even if you're starting from zero. We'll start with the basics from writing effective prompts, all the way up into advanced through things like analyzing long documents, generating research reports, running data analysis, using your camera and voice in real time, generating images, and more. That might sound technical, but you can do this all simply using plain natural language. It's not perfect, it makes mistakes, but when used well, it becomes a powerful tool for your life, work, or business. Most people barely scratch the surface of what ChatGPT can do. First, go to chat.com and create an account. The free plan gives you a lot. You can do almost everything we'll cover just with usage limits. So sometimes you'll hit a cap and need to wait. A few advanced features are paid only, so I'll explain those at the end. If you do upgrade, it's $20 per month. Once you're signed in, you'll land here. The interface is simple, just one prompt box. But from this box, you can do very powerful things. On the simple side are things like creative writing, product comparisons, brainstorming, finding quotes or studies, summarizing documents, getting feedback on your text, explaining complex topics, role-playing, and much more. The fact that all of this is available in one place quickly feels normal once you use it, but just a few years ago, this would have been unimaginable. We'll start with our first prompt. Write a blog post about productivity. And click down here to send that or hit enter. Then, almost instantly, we have our full blog post. It looks fine, but notice how much the model had to guess. Who's the audience? What's the tone? How long should it be? What kind of productivity are we talking about? I gave it no context. There are three key elements that make every prompt better: instruction, context, and constraints. Instruction, meaning what exactly do you want the model to do? This is obvious to include in every prompt, but the biggest tip is to be specific, not vague. And context is the most important. Who is this for? What's the background? Why does this matter? And constraints are any must-haves or boundaries around tone, structure, length, or style. So now let's add those in. I'm a business productivity coach. Write a 500-word blog post for busy entrepreneurs about how to plan a productive week. Make it casual and include 3 actionable tips. End with a motivational quote. And looking through this output, you can see this is much more useful and exactly what I asked for in the prompt. The instruction was write a 500-word blog post, very clear. Context, business productivity coach, busy entrepreneurs, planning their week. Constraints, 500 words, casual tone, 3 tips, and with a quote. It doesn't matter what order you include them in. As long as you hit instruction, context, and constraints, your outputs will improve dramatically. Later, I'll show you a more advanced formula for high-stakes prompts, but these 3 are the foundation for everyday use. And this response was great, but not perfect. I want to make some changes, and there's a much better way to do that than just asking for them here. That's with the canvas. So I'll just ask right here, let's edit in Canvas. It will generate in a different format, then up top I can click edit. Then it opens up into this new layout with the chat on the left and the document on the right. And this gives us new ways to edit. I can actually type or edit directly just like a doc. Now ChatGPT tends to use too many em dashes. I'll switch this one to an ellipsis. It's updated instantly. I can also ask for changes from the chat box, make it funnier, and add some puns. And the rewrite appears right on the canvas. And to see exactly what changed, click Show Changes in the top right. For example, we had your inbox seems to multiply overnight became your inbox multiplies like rabbits. Nice. And instead of every week feels like a sprint, it feels like a sprint you didn't train for. So those are solid, and it made lots more changes. And then we can hide the changes with the same button. You can edit specific sections too. So highlight some text, then hit the Ask ChatGPT button. Then type your requests. Let's use a different quote. There we go. Either you run the day or the day runs you. And Canvas works not just for writing, but for code, calendars, project trackers, even long data sets. Just anytime you want a persistent, editable output. Then to leave, we can just click the X, and now I'll start a new chat. That's actually an example that Saj used in our prompt engineering course on Futurepedia. We have over 500 lessons across over 20 AI courses that go really deep into all aspects of learning AI and incorporating it into your life and business. That's a really valuable platform for anyone wanting to advance as fast as possible with guided learning paths. But I'll come back to some more prompting tips later. There's a lot of other amazing things you can do in here. And some of those things live under this plus button. Down under more, we actually have that canvas feature in here as well. So you can turn that on and it will enter directly into the canvas instead of asking for it like I did. But this next one I want to show is add photos and files. ChatGPT is multimodal, meaning it works with more than just text. It can handle images, PDFs, spreadsheets, even audio and video. I'll start with an image. I have here a complex diagram on quantum computing. And instead of using the plus button, I can also just drag it in. Then I'll ask, explain this image. And this figure is about fault-tolerant quantum repeater architecture using error-correcting codes and tree encodings. Then it breaks it all down panel by panel. If that is incredible, it could understand that. But it is still pretty advanced. A great way to simplify things, I can say, explain it like I'm 5 years old. Now it's got an analogy about sending a secret toy far away across a bumpy road. Suddenly it is much easier to understand. Then after digesting it that way, I could go back to the deeper explanation and understand that easier. This upload feature also works with documents, even very long ones. So this is Tesla's 2024 SEC filing. It's 144 pages. I will drop it in and ask, list Tesla's top opportunities and risks mentioned in this report, and explain why they matter to investors and customers. In seconds, it read the whole thing, then gives a clear breakdown. A little faster than reading 144 pages. Now it can even handle unusual inputs, so here's a meme. Explain this meme. And no problem. And here's some ASCII art of Starry Night. This one should be a lot harder, like there's no color, the structure is different, tons of detail is missing. Let's see if it knows what this is. And it nailed it. Like, that is amazing. I find the image upload feature especially useful on mobile. Like out hiking, I've used it to identify lizards, snakes, flowers, and bugs with my 5-year-old. And then you can add follow-up questions like, what do they eat? I even used it to build a computer from scratch. So I had never built one before, so every time I got stuck, I snapped a photo and ChatGPT walked me through every step. It could identify random cords, screws, and components. Even though every computer build looks different and my parts were just scattered across the floor, it still understood everything I sent to it. That was actually the most mind-blowing use case I've ever had. And while we're on mobile, I'll mention you can do all the things I'm covering on the mobile app as well. Your chat history, uploads, and edits all sync between desktop and phone. So that's very convenient, and I use it all the time. Another great way to level up your ChatGPT skill quickly is with this free resource bundle provided by HubSpot. There's a total of 5 PDFs that go in depth on how you can utilize ChatGPT in your career to get ahead, solve problems, or save time. My favorite of these is called Supercharge Your Workday with ChatGPT. It covers specific examples of how ChatGPT can be used in various industries: sales and marketing, project management, enhanced decision-making and problem-solving, time management and organization. It walks through step by step with different tips and even has a section titled 100 Ways to Try ChatGPT Today. That has 100 sample prompts you can use and modify. No matter what career you have, there's sure to be a bunch in there that apply. And that's just one of the resources in the bundle, which again is free. Just use the link down in the description to go download that. Thank you to HubSpot for sponsoring this video and providing valuable resources like this one. By default, ChatGPT will search the internet whenever it thinks it needs to. So like if I ask, what is the current price of NVIDIA? It searches the internet and it actually pulls the whole chart in right here. Then down at the bottom, it provides links to its sources. So that's great, but like always, it won't get that right every time. If you want to make sure it uses the web, open up the plus menu, go to More, and turn on Web Search. Just flip that on whenever you know you'll need up-to-date results. You may have noticed ChatGPT sometimes responds instantly, but other times it says it thought for a while. So in default mode, it decides how much reasoning is needed. This isn't always accurate, but it does a decent job at this, just routing the model intuitively based on your needs. So for example, what does a roly-poly eat? Instant answer. But if I ask, evaluate the long-term environmental impact of lithium-ion battery production, so that ended up spending almost a full minute thinking. It pulled from over 100 sources, and it reasoned step by step before answering. So it has a chain of thought using reasoning across multiple steps. And what's cool is you can even read what that chain of thought was. Sometimes it decides it needs to find more information and went and searched for some more sources. Then, changed its approach to the topic, eventually responded with a well thought out answer. This deeper reasoning often improves accuracy, but again, it isn't perfect. Sometimes it overthinks simple questions or answers too fast on complex ones. That's where manual control comes in. On the free plan, you'll see Think Longer under the dropdown. On the paid plan, you switch up at the top. There's Fast, Default, or Longer Thinking. I keep it on longer most of the time. It reduces hallucinations and gives more thorough results. I almost always prefer to just wait for that. But if you want speed, you can always switch to Fast. or click skip anytime it's overthinking. Sometimes you need ChatGPT to go even deeper than thinking mode. That's where deep research comes in, your personal research assistant. So I'll paste that same prompt, evaluate the long-term environmental impact of lithium-ion battery production, then click the plus button, choose deep research, and on the free plan you get 4 per month. First, it asks some clarifying questions, and after you answer, it disappears for, on average, like 5 to 10 minutes. And during that time, it's scouring the web, studies, articles, public data, it analyzes what it finds, breaks down arguments, and weighs trade-offs. The result isn't just an answer, it's a mini literature review. You get a structured breakdown, multiple perspectives, direct quotes and links, and a conclusion that weighs the evidence. Just like with the thinking mode, you can open up its chain of thought and see just how deep it really went. Deep research is slow and capped, but when you need a thorough, source-backed answer, this is the tool. Perfect for research-based blog posts, academic work, presentations, or digging up recent data. Not for quick questions, this is for the big ones that need receipts. Thinking mode and deep research give you more thorough answers, but the other way to guide ChatGPT is back to prompting. Earlier we covered ICC, instruction, context, and constraints. That's the foundation. But for bigger, more important prompts, you can expand this into the full RICECO framework. The parts we didn't cover earlier are role, examples, and output format. So I'll give an example for each of those. Role prompting on its own is a very powerful technique. By telling ChatGPT who it is, you instantly change the perspective and depth of the response. So here's a quick example. You are a travel vlogger. Describe the experience of visiting Tokyo for the first time. And now I'll use a different role so we can see the comparison. I'll do that with a lesser known trick. When you click edit up here, it lets you edit your prompt. So I'll just change that to a business travel consultant. Describe the experience of visiting Tokyo for the first time. Then it will generate again. And this edit feature can be really helpful when you're learning how to prompt, or just when you realize after sending that you forgot to add something. But now we have both answers and I can toggle between them. The first one, from the travel vlogger perspective, focuses on the emotions, the vibes, the little moments and experiences. Then over to the business travel consultant. This is a completely different output, focusing on travel logistics, the business environment, precision and punctuality, formality and communication. Just a few extra words assigning the role had a massive impact. And this works for serious prompts, creative prompts, and everything in between. The next one is examples. The ChatGPT has its own writing style, but if you want it to sound like you or anyone else, upload examples for it to reference. It will mimic that style. And I could actually come back to this original blog post example. And what I would do is add at least one example of a previous blog post of mine. Then I would say, use this as a reference for tone and format. That will transform the writing into my tone and voice without describing them myself. And this works for any kind of writing, scripts, newsletters, reports, emails, but it works for other things too, like text-to-image prompts, data formatting, or even multi-part logic. So use examples when applicable. It's like handing it a cheat sheet. The last step is output format. This shapes how the answer is delivered. Like if you ask a vague comparison question, a lot of times you'll get just a wall of text. Instead, I could add, give me a 3-column table with columns for name, key features, and ideal use cases. Now, the same information is organized and clear. You can also ask for bullet points, JSON, Markdown, a tweet thread, 3-act script, a flowchart, or even more advanced, like asking create a mind map using nested Markdown lists, or format this as a code snippet I can paste into my app. This can help make things more clear and to avoid reformatting later when you're using it somewhere else. So here's an example using every step of RICECO. We would change a bad prompt, like how can I implement AI and automations into my real estate business? That's too broad, ChatGPT will guess too much, so I rebuilt it using every part of RICECO. Gave it a role. You are a business growth strategist specializing in AI adoption for businesses. Then a very clear instruction, identify the top AI and automation opportunities to help streamline my business and produce a prioritized action plan that maximizes time savings and revenue growth. Then the context is basically a context dump about the business, area, market, etc. For examples, I gave a few potential automation examples for it. Then constraints I had around time, budget, and technical ability. Output format of a full playbook by difficulty level and time, starting with quick wins with some additional structure. Now, looking at this result, you can see how powerful an effective prompt can be. Something like this that could save 10 to 15 hours per week, increase conversion, and scale without burnout. Over time, you'll start thinking this way naturally, and you won't always follow a specific order. And your day-to-day interactions don't need to be a huge prompt like this, but for important prompts like business strategy, research, major writing projects, and a real plan you can use, the full RICECO framework is important. Then everyday prompts, a quick ICC levels up the outputs significantly. I've spent a long time on prompting because it's one of the most important skills to enhance your experience with ChatGPT. I actually made an entire video just on this framework recently. You can watch that if you want more on it. Or like I mentioned, we do have full courses on Futurepedia dedicated to prompt engineering, plus all the other stuff, but let's move on. And before we get to more features, let's stop and look at customization. That also affects what you get back when you're prompting. Click your profile in the bottom left, go to Settings, then Personalization. First is custom instructions. Here you can tell ChatGPT your name and what you do, then it has some context for how to frame certain topics. Next is personality. So far in these demos, I've been using the default, which is cheerful and adaptive, but you can switch to robot, cynic, listener, or nerd. So I don't like niceties and encouragement. The default will say things like, what an incredible insight, or you're really thinking clearly and getting to the root of the issue. I do not like that. But I know some people really do, so pick whatever fits for you. But personally, I keep it on robot, efficient and blunt. You can also add traits here by selecting them or typing them in. I don't use this much because it applies globally to every chat. I ask about a wide range of topics, so I prefer to just add context case by case. Also, projects are a better solution for that. They're like folders you use for your conversations. Each project has its own custom instructions, but that is only on the paid plan, so I'll cover it later. And finally, there's the box for anything else ChatGPT should know about you. It could be interests, diet, values, religion, language. Again, I just leave this blank and add details into my prompts when they matter. But for beginners, this can be useful, especially if you don't already have those prompting habits built in. Another setting that changes how ChatGPT interacts with you is memory. You'll find it back on the personalization screen. When memory is on, ChatGPT saves details from your conversations and uses them later when relevant. Click Manage to see what's stored. In this account, nothing's saved yet. So I'll switch over to my main account and you can see a bunch of memories here. I think all of these are just about videos I was working on. And we got an upcoming trip I have, even a process I talked about for remineralizing reverse osmosis water. And you can always delete anything that's outdated or no longer accurate. But back to the free account. Below memory is a reference chat history. This lets ChatGPT pull from your past conversations. The history can get huge, so it is less reliable than memory, but you can still ask it about things you've discussed previously. Now, back in the general settings, there's an option for selecting a voice. This is who you'll interact with in voice mode.
Hey, what's up? Feel free to ask me about anything that's on your mind. I'm ready to go.
Hi, glad to meet you. I think we're going to do great work together. Where shall we start?
Now, backed by the prompt box, you'll notice two voice options. One is just to transcribe your voice into the prompt box. The other will be for ChatGPT to speak as well. Can you tell me about the voice feature of ChatGPT and what it's good for?
Absolutely. The voice feature lets you have a real-time conversation with me, just like we're chatting now. It's great for when you're on the go, or if you prefer speaking over typing. It's also helpful for accessibility. So anyone who finds it easier to listen and speak can interact more comfortably. Plus, can make the conversation feel more natural and personal.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. If you have any other questions or want to chat about anything else, just let me know.
Personally, I only really use this when I'm on mobile, but some people prefer to use it all the time. And it can do all sorts of interesting things if you want it to, like speak with different emotions in many languages, fast or slow, it can sing, all sorts of stuff that I never use. I'm just going to show a little demo of this alongside another feature, which is using vision at the same time. This one only works on mobile, but it has a ton of use cases. So we open up voice mode, and then there's a button to open up the camera. Hey, can you help me solve this equation? Solve for x.
Absolutely. So the equation on your card is 3x minus 7 equals 11. To solve for x, we first add 7 to both sides, so 3x equals 18. Then we divide both sides by 3, and that gives us x equals 6. So x is 6.
Perfect.
Awesome. Glad that was the answer you needed. If you've got any more note card equations or anything else you want to run by me, just let me know.
Here, what do you think of this snack I have here? Do you think this is a relatively healthy snack?
Yeah, let's take a look. So, from what I'm seeing on the label, looks like you've got a snack made mainly of sprouted seeds, a little bit of sweetener like tapioca syrup, and some sea salt. Overall, that's pretty straightforward and not full of weird additives, so that's a good sign. It's got some healthy fats from the seeds, a decent bit of protein, and it's not super high in sugar. So, yeah, I'd say it's a relatively healthy snack, especially if you're looking for something on the go.
Okay, awesome. All right, and those were relatively easy things. I needed something to do as a demo at my desk, but there's a ton of use cases for this. ChatGPT has very good image generation with great prompt adherence. You prompt it, and you can also ask for changes using natural language. It is a pretty intuitive way to generate images since you don't have to get your prompt perfect. And also, you can upload reference images, so here is my face, and I want a thumbnail for my ChatGPT tutorial video. If the first one isn't good, you can say what you want changed, and it will do it. It's not perfect with keeping a face from a real photo consistent, but that does look like me. But somewhere it really shines is complex prompt adherence and text generation. So here's a good one to showcase that. So it nailed every part of that prompt and all the text is perfect, like no errors anywhere. It is really good at this, and it's great to be able to do that right in here while you're working on something. Now, as far as basic organization, you have your chat history on the left, then you can open or close the sidebar to see it. It's a good idea to rename important chats so they're easier to find later, and you can use the search feature to search for them. There is a better way that I prefer to organize. This is one of my favorite and most used features, but it is only an option with the paid plan. It's called projects. These are basically folders where you can store multiple chats. It's hard to find previous chats otherwise, so the organization factor is huge, but on top of that, you can add unique custom instructions for each project. You can also upload different files that it will reference for that project. These could be SOPs, writing examples, business documents, whatever is relevant. Then it will use that as context for every new chat within that project. For example, I have a project for writing short form scripts. So I have a document with a list of short form hooks it can reference. Then in the custom instructions, I have a full process that we go through together when ideating and writing short form scripts. This can be an incredibly powerful and time-saving feature rather than having one long chat because you don't want to lose all that context. You can use multiple chats within one project. Now, there are some really amazing and often overlooked features for data analysis. However, these are very limited uses under the free plan, only one per month. So I just call this a paid feature. I have a CSV I found on Kaggle about Pokemon. I didn't look at exactly what this was, but I'll drag it in and ask, analyze this dataset and provide me with 5 different useful visualizations of the data. And it'll process that and work for a little bit. But then we have multiple options of visualizations to help understand this data better. And those are all great. It does feel weird that a pie chart was missing in this case though. And again, if I was using the free account, I'd have only gotten one of these visualizations. Custom GPTs are something, if you're on the paid plan, you can build them using custom instructions and files. Sort of like projects, but these are better for specific repeat behaviors. Now, a lot of the things you might end up wanting to build may already be available. These are all free and you can use them on the free plan too. But that free plan, you just can't build your own. So I'll show a few that I use. This one for N8N is really helpful. If you're using N8N to build automations, it's trained on all their documentation. That one's kind of hard to demo. So here's a simpler one for enhancing text to video prompts. I just input a simple idea, then it will give me 3 versions where it expands on that and adds details for a video generator. If you do want to build your own, it's a fairly straightforward process. You interact through natural language, and it will prompt you for additional things that would be good to add or clarify. I do have a few of these that I've built and use regularly. Something else that's cool about these GPTs is you can call them in a chat. That way you can stack functionality or use them for just one-off questions. So I have this chat asking about how LLMs are trained. I can use @ and select whimsical diagrams from the dropdown, and then ask for a mind map. Then it generates me one using that tool that looks great. Okay, we have covered a lot from the basics of prompting all the way to advanced tools like deep research, data analysis, file uploads, memory, and customization. Whether you're using it for personal productivity, creative projects, or to run a business, ChatGPT can be a real multiplier if you know how to guide it. And if you want to go way deeper into learning AI, we've built a full course platform at Futurepedia with over 500 lessons across over 20 AI courses. You'll find full learning paths on ChatGPT, prompt engineering, custom GPTs, video generation, coding with AI, and a lot more. It's all included in one subscription. You can get a 7-day free trial using the link in the description. Or a great next step after this video would be this one, where I give an entire roadmap on how to learn AI beyond LLMs, every aspect of AI you could apply in your life and business.